The ambush. The void of space stretched infinitely, its silence broken only by the faint hum of engines from a convoy of human trade ships. The convoy, made up of 6 cargo vessels, moved cautiously through an uncharted sector of space, known as the Black Veil. This region had a reputation for danger, but the trade route saved weeks of travel time, making it a tempting shortcut for the daring, or the desperate. Inside the lead cargo ship, the crew was tense. Nathan Carter, a young communications officer, sat at his station, monitoring the ship's systems. His fingers tapped nervously on the console. The Black Veil was infamous for pirate activity, and every shadow on the radar felt like a threat. "Relax, Carter," said Captain Linda Rice, the seasoned leader of the convoy. Her voice was calm but firm. "We're almost through. Stay sharp, but don't let fear cloud your judgment." Nathan nodded, though his unease didn't fade. The silence outside was too perfect, too still. It felt like the calm before a storm. Then it happened. Out of nowhere, the radar lit up with red blips. At least a dozen ships appeared, their signatures instantly recognizable. Alien pirate vessels. Their designs were jagged and menacing, built more for intimidation than elegance. They moved quickly, forming a tight formation around the convoy. "Multiple contacts, Captain," Nathan shouted, his voice rising with panic. "They've surrounded us." Before Linda could respond, a voice crackled through the ship's comm system. It was deep and gravelly, dripping with arrogance. "Humans, you have entered our territory. Surrender your cargo, and we might spare your lives. Resist, and we'll leave nothing but debris." The pirate leader's voice was met with silence from the convoy. Linda Rice leaned forward, her eyes narrowing. "Activate the distress beacon," she ordered. "Let's see if anyone's close enough to hear us." Nathan's hands flew over the console, sending out a distress signal on all frequencies. He doubted it would reach anyone in time, but it was their only hope. Meanwhile, the pirate ships began to close in. Energy weapons charged on their hulls, casting an eerie glow in the darkness of space. "Captain, they're powering up their weapons," shouted the tactical officer. "Evasive maneuvers," Linda barked. The cargo ships began to scatter, trying to avoid the pirates' fire. But the convoy wasn't built for combat, and the pirates knew it. Their first volley disabled the engines of 2 cargo ships, leaving them dead in the water. The pirates wasted no time. Boarding parties launched from their vessels, attaching themselves to the helpless ships like leeches. Through the external cameras, Nathan watched in horror as the pirates breached the hulls, their armored figures moving like shadows. The screams of the captured crew echoed faintly over the comm channels before being abruptly cut off. "Captain, they're taking the cargo," Nathan said, his voice trembling. Linda clenched her fists. "We're not giving up without a fight. Get me the status on our remaining ships." Before Nathan could respond, the pirate leader's voice returned, mocking and cruel. "Is this all humanity has to offer? Pathetic. You're not even worth the fuel we spent tracking you." Linda stared at the comms panel, her jaw tightening. She knew the odds were against them. The pirates were too many, and their ships were too powerful. Still, she refused to beg for mercy. "We've sent the signal," she said, her voice steady. "Now we hold out as long as we can." Suddenly, a new alert blared across the console. It wasn't from the pirates. It was a massive energy signature, approaching fast. Nathan's eyes widened as he read the data. "Captain," he said, his voice shaking. "Something's coming. Big." The pirates must have noticed it too, because their movements grew frantic. Their leader's voice snapped over the comms, ordering his ships to prepare for an unknown threat. Then, like a ghost emerging from the void, a new ship appeared on the radar. It was enormous, its sleek black hull reflecting the faint starlight. The markings on its side were unmistakable. Hyperion's Wrath, one of humanity's most advanced warships. Nathan's heart leaped with hope, but the pirates seemed unfazed. Their leader laughed, his voice echoing across the comms. One ship. This is your rescue. You'll wish it hadn't come. Linda allowed herself a small smile. Let's see who regrets what. As Hyperion's wrath drew closer, it suddenly went silent. Its engines dimmed, and it vanished from the radar, cloaking itself in an eerie silence. The pirates hesitated, their formation breaking as they tried to locate the invisible warship. For the first time, the hunters began to feel like prey. The silence stretched on, thick with tension. Then, without warning, a blinding beam of energy tore through the darkness, striking one of the pirate ships and reducing it to a fiery explosion. Hyperion's wrath had made its first move, and it was a devastating one. Nathan could only stare in awe as the pirate fleet scrambled to respond. This wasn't a fight anymore. It was a reckoning. Enter the human warship. The destruction of the pirate ship was swift, brutal, and unmistakable, a message delivered in fire and light. For a moment, silence hung in the void, broken only by the crackling debris of the obliterated vessel. The pirates, who moments ago had exuded confidence, hesitated. Their ships faltered in their formation as they scanned frantically for the source of the attack. But Hyperion's wrath was nowhere to be seen. On board the Hyperion's wrath, Captain Darius Cole stood on the command deck, his sharp blue eyes fixed on the tactical display. He was a tall, imposing figure, his presence enough to silence even the rowdiest crew members. A veteran of countless battles, Captain Cole was known for his cold precision. He didn't just fight battles, he ended them. "Status report," he said, his voice calm but firm. "Cloak is holding," replied Lieutenant Mira Hayes, the ship's chief tactical officer. Her fingers moved deftly across her console. "The pirates are scattering, trying to locate us. They have no idea where we are." Cole allowed himself a slight smirk. "Good. Let's keep it that way." The Hyperion's wrath wasn't just a warship. It was a masterpiece of human engineering. Its cloaking technology rendered it invisible to most detection systems, and its advanced weaponry could punch through even the toughest shields. But its greatest weapon wasn't its firepower, it was the crew. Every officer, every technician, every soldier on board was the best humanity had to offer. "Target their engines," Cole ordered. "We're not letting them retreat." Outside, the pirate fleet began to regroup, their arrogance quickly giving way to desperation. The alien leader barked orders, his guttural voice filled with frustration. "Find that ship. It can't have gone far." One of the pirate ships, smaller and faster than the others, broke off from the main group, sweeping the area with its scanners. For a moment, its sensors flickered, catching the faintest trace of the Hyperion's wrath. It was a fatal mistake. From the darkness, a burst of plasma fire erupted, striking the smaller ship dead center. It exploded in a brilliant flash, the wreckage scattering like embers in the void. On board the lead pirate vessel, Captain Falric snarled, his clawed hand smashing into the control panel. "What is this sorcery?" he roared. "Humans are nothing but scavengers and merchants. How do they wield such power?" His crew didn't dare respond. The terror in their eyes was answer enough. They had underestimated humanity, and now they were paying the price. Meanwhile, on Hyperion's wrath, Cole observed the chaos unfolding on the tactical display. He could see the pirates' confusion, their panic. It was almost too easy. "Lieutenant Hayes," he said, his voice low. "Send them a message." Mira grinned. "With pleasure, Captain." Moments later, an audio transmission cut through the pirates' comm channels. It was a simple message, spoken in Cole's calm, measured tone. "You've made a grave mistake." The words echoed in the alien ships, chilling the pirates to their core. They had never encountered humans like this before, humans who didn't plead for mercy or flee in terror. These humans fought back, and they fought to win. "Captain," Mira said, her tone shifting to one of urgency, "we're picking up energy spikes. The lead pirate ship is powering up its main cannon. They're going to try to blast their way out." Cole's smirk faded. "Not on my watch. Target their cannon and disable it." The Hyperion's wrath moved with deadly precision, its cloaking field flickering momentarily as it repositioned. Before the pirate flagship could fire, a lance of blue energy shot out, striking the cannon with pinpoint accuracy. The weapon overloaded, erupting in a chain reaction that rippled through the pirate ship's hull. Thalric's roar of frustration echoed through his vessel. Retreat. All ships retreat. But retreating wasn't an option. Hyperion's wrath had already anticipated their moves, positioning itself to block their escape routes. One by one, the pirate ships were disabled, their engines destroyed, their weapons silenced. For the first time in his life, Thalric felt fear. Real, bone-deep fear. He had spent years terrorizing the weak, preying on those who couldn't fight back. But now the tables had turned, and he realized too late that he was the one being hunted. On board Hyperion's wrath, Cole watched as the pirate fleet crumbled. "Prepare the boarding teams," he said. "I want their leader alive." "Aye, Captain," Mira replied, already coordinating the operation. As the warship moved in to secure the disabled pirate vessels, Nathan Carter's voice came through the comms. The young communications officer from the convoy sounded awestruck. "Hyperion's wrath, this is the cargo ship Eclipse. We can't thank you enough. You saved us." Captain Cole's expression softened, but only slightly. "Stay where you are, Eclipse. We'll ensure these pirates never bother anyone again." With that, Hyperion's wrath continued its deadly work, dismantling the pirate threat piece by piece. For the pirates, it was no longer a battle, it was a lesson. Humanity wasn't prey. Humanity was a force to be reckoned with. The counterattack begins. The battlefield was no longer a place of equal footing. It was a stage, and Hyperion's wrath was the star performer. The pirate fleet, which had once exuded menace, now resembled scattered prey running from an invisible predator. Captain Thalric snarled from his command seat, his reptilian tail lashing in frustration. The cold efficiency of the human warship was unnerving. It didn't boast, didn't threaten. It simply dismantled his fleet piece by piece. "Find them," he barked, his clawed hand slamming onto the armrest. His crew scrambled to obey, their scanners pushing beyond their limits to locate Hyperion's wrath. On the warship's bridge, Captain Darius Cole watched the pirates' movements with calculated precision. His tactical display highlighted every enemy vessel, their desperation clear in their erratic flight patterns. "They're panicking," said Lieutenant Mira Hayes, her tone laced with satisfaction. "They've switched to full scans. They're broadcasting their positions to half the sector." Cole nodded. "Exactly what we want. Let them overextend themselves." He turned to his weapons officer, a sharp-eyed veteran named Ensign Marcus Yao. "Mark their flagship. We'll break their morale." "Aye, Captain," Marcus said, locking onto the largest ship in the pirate fleet. Its jagged, asymmetrical hull bristled with weapons, but its design betrayed its overconfidence. Big, flashy, but vulnerable in key areas. The pirate flagship's struggle. On board the pirate flagship, alarms blared as another ship in Thalric's fleet vanished in an explosion of plasma fire. His second-in-command, a wiry alien with trembling hands, hesitated before speaking. "Captain, we've lost 5 ships. Our formation is broken. Do you think I don't see that?" Thalric roared, his sharp teeth bared. He stood and paced the bridge, his claws tapping against the deck. "Humans are supposed to be weak. Merchants, explorers, diplomats. Not this." The crew exchanged nervous glances. They had heard stories of human resilience, tales whispered in dimly lit pirate dens, but none of them had believed the stories were true. Until now. A sudden blast rocked the flagship. Thalric stumbled, gripping a nearby console to steady himself. "Report." "They've targeted our engines, sir," one of the crew stammered. "We're losing speed." Thalric's golden eyes narrowed. "Divert all power to shields. Prepare the main cannon. If these humans want to play predator, we'll show them who's truly in charge." Hyperion's wrath strikes. On Hyperion's wrath, Lieutenant Hayes raised an eyebrow as the flagship's shields flared to life, a shimmering dome of energy surrounding the massive vessel. "They're digging in, Captain," she said. "Looks like they're charging their main weapon." Cole studied the display, noting the power surges in the pirate flagship. "Predictable," he said quietly. "They're desperate. They'll focus everything on one strike, hoping to overpower us." He turned to his helmsman, Ensign Carla Singh. "Bring us within range, but keep the cloak active. Let them think they're ready to fight." The warship moved like a shadow, slipping through the battlefield unnoticed. The pirates scanned frantically, their sensors useless against Hyperion's advanced cloaking technology. "Marcus," Cole said, his tone steady, "we'll test their shields first. Fire a low-energy volley." The weapons officer nodded, and a series of bright pulses shot from Hyperion's hidden cannons, striking the pirate flagship's shields. The energy barrier rippled but held. On board the pirate vessel, Falrek laughed harshly. "Is that all they've got? Pathetic." But Cole wasn't done. "Adjust targeting," he ordered. "Focus on the shield generators. Fire when ready." The next volley wasn't a test. Precision strikes hammered the flagship's critical systems. Sparks flew across Thalric's bridge as his crew shouted in panic. "Captain, we've lost 2 generators. Shields are failing." Falric's confidence cracked. "Divert power from the weapons," he bellowed. "Keep those shields up. The hunter becomes the hunted." Hyperion's wrath decloaked, its sleek black hull emerging like a phantom from the void. For the first time, the pirates saw their enemy in full view, a ship that exuded power and precision. The sight alone was enough to send shivers through their spines. Captain Cole's voice cut through their comms like a blade. "You're finished. Surrender now, or we'll end this the hard way." Falric sneered, his pride refusing to let him bow to a human. "You think one warship can take me? I've razed colonies and crushed fleets. You're nothing." Cole didn't flinch. "Lieutenant, disable their engines completely. Let's take the fight to them." With pinpoint accuracy, Hyperion's wrath fired again, striking the flagship's remaining engines. The massive ship shuddered to a halt, drifting helplessly in space. "Prepare the boarding teams," Cole said. "It's time to end this." The tables turned. As Hyperion's wrath moved closer, the pirate fleet began to break apart. The smaller ships, seeing their leader's flagship disabled, tried to flee. But they found no escape. The human warship anticipated their moves, its cannons firing with relentless precision. One by one, the pirates surrendered, their ships powering down as they broadcast pleas for mercy. Only the flagship remained defiant, its bridge a scene of chaos as Thalrek desperately tried to regain control. "You're all cowards," he screamed at his crew. "Fight to the last ship." But even he couldn't deny the truth. Hyperion's wrath was more than a match for his fleet. This wasn't a battle. It was a humiliation. On board the human warship, Cole watched as the pirate flagship floated dead in space. He turned to Mira with a small nod. "Let's show them why humanity isn't to be trifled with." The tables turned. The pirate flagship hung in the void, its engines dead, and its shield generators flickering weakly. Hyperion's wrath loomed closer, a silent predator circling its helpless prey. The once feared pirate fleet was no longer a force to be reckoned with. It was scattered, broken, and humiliated. On board the Hyperion's wrath, Captain Darius Cole stood at the center of the bridge, his hands clasped behind his back. The holographic display in front of him showed the crippled flagship, its jagged hull still defiant despite its obvious vulnerability. "They're stalling," said Lieutenant Mira Hayes, her eyes scanning the tactical feed. "Their weapons are offline, but I'm picking up unusual power fluctuations in the lower decks. They're up to something." Cole's expression darkened. Pirates don't surrender easily. If they're buying time, it means they're desperate. He turned to Ensign Carla Singh. "Bring us into position above their ship. Prepare a precision strike on their main reactor. We'll make sure they understand the consequences of defiance. The pirate flagship. Desperation breeds chaos. Inside the pirate flagship, the air was thick with panic. Captain Thalric prowled the bridge, his sharp claws leaving marks on the metal floor. His crew avoided his gaze, their hands trembling as they worked their consoles. "Status report," Thalric growled. A junior officer hesitated before responding. "Shields are down to 30%, engines are offline, and our weapons systems are unresponsive." Thalric's golden eyes narrowed, his frustration boiling over. "And the contingency plan? Have they activated it?" The officer nodded nervously. "Yes, Captain. The self-destruct sequence is primed, but it's risky. If the humans detect it—" "They won't," Thalric interrupted, his voice sharp. "They're arrogant. They think they've won. But when this ship detonates, it will take them with us." The bridge fell silent, the weight of his words sinking in. Even the most hardened pirates looked uneasy at the thought of sacrificing themselves. Hyperion's Wrath makes its move. Hyperion's Wrath took its position above the pirate flagship, its cannons glowing with energy. From the vantage point of the human warship, the pirates seemed like insects trapped under a magnifying glass. "Boarding teams are ready," Mira reported. "Just say the word, Captain." Cole's gaze was steady as he replied. "Deploy them. I want their captain alive." In the hangar, squads of heavily armed Marines prepared for launch. Their armor gleamed under the harsh lights, and their faces were set with determination. This wasn't just another mission, it was a statement. Humanity was done being prey. The boarding pods launched in quick succession, streaking across the void like missiles. They slammed into the pirate flagship's hull, their magnetic clamps engaging with a deafening clang. Within seconds, the Marines breached the airlocks, their movements precise and coordinated. The fight inside the flagship. The pirates, cornered and desperate, tried to mount a defense, but it was chaos. The Marines swept through the ship with practiced efficiency, their weapons and tactics far superior to anything the pirates had encountered before. Sergeant Ethan Graves led the charge, his voice calm as he relayed orders through his helmet's comm. "Sweep the corridors. Secure the reactor room and the bridge. Watch for traps." His team moved like shadows, their footsteps muffled by the ship's metal floors. The pirates who dared to resist were quickly subdued, their weapons no match for the Marines' advanced gear. In the lower decks, the Marines discovered the source of the unusual power readings, the self-destruct mechanism. A crude but effective device, it was rigged to blow the entire ship apart. "Graves to Wrath," the sergeant reported. "We've got a live bomb here. Looks like they were planning to take us out with them." Cole's voice came through the comms, calm but firm. "Disable it. We're not giving them the satisfaction." "Understood," Graves replied. He turned to his demolitions expert. "Gwen, you're up." The demolitions expert knelt beside the device, her hands moving with practiced ease. "It's crude, but it's not amateur. Give me a minute." The seconds ticked by as she worked, the tension palpable. Finally, with a triumphant click, the mechanism powered down. "Self-destruct disabled," Graves reported, moving to the bridge. The confrontation. On the bridge, Thalric watched the security feeds, his fury growing with every passing second. The humans were unstoppable, tearing through his ship like a storm. His crew cowered, their fear palpable. "Cowards!" He spat, his voice dripping with disdain. "You'd let these weaklings destroy us. Fight back." But his crew didn't move. They knew the truth. The fight was over. The bridge doors exploded inward, and the Marines stormed in, their weapons trained on every pirate. Thalric roared in defiance, lunging at them with his claws bared. But a single stun blast from Graves dropped him to the floor. The Marines secured the bridge, binding the remaining crew. Thalric struggled against his restraints, his pride refusing to let him accept defeat. "You think this changes anything?" he snarled. "More will come, stronger than me, Humanity can't stand against us forever. Graves looked down at him, unimpressed. Maybe not, but you won't be around to see it. Victory secured. Back on Hyperion's Wrath, Captain Cole received the report of the flagship's capture. He allowed himself a small smile. Good work, Sergeant. Bring him aboard. The Marines returned with Thalric in custody, his once mighty presence reduced to a sullen glare. The pirate fleet was in ruins, its leader humiliated. For the first time, the Black Veil wasn't a place of fear for humans. It was a symbol of their strength. Cole addressed his crew, his voice resonating through the ship. This isn't just a victory. It's a message. Humanity isn't prey, and anyone who thinks otherwise will learn the hard way. As Hyperion's Wrath moved to escort the rescued convoy to safety, the pirates' broken fleet drifted aimlessly, a testament to what happens when humanity strikes back. The pirates' desperation. The shattered remnants of the pirate fleet floated helplessly, their defeat undeniable. Hyperion's Wrath loomed over the battlefield, its black hull gleaming like an omen of judgment. For most of the pirates, surrender had been their only option. But Captain Thalric was not like most pirates. Locked in the brig of Hyperion's Wrath, Thalric sat silently, his golden eyes burning with fury. His claws scraped against the metal bench, the grating sound echoing in the sterile cell. To his crew, he had been a symbol of strength and ruthlessness. To himself, he was a survivor, one who would turn the tides no matter the cost. A desperate gamble. In the depths of the pirate flagship, a small group of Thalric's loyalists had managed to avoid capture. They huddled in the shadows, whispering in hushed tones. Among them was Orvek, Thalric's most trusted engineer, a wiry creature with quick hands and a cunning mind. "We have one chance," Orvek said, his voice a rasp. The captain planted a failsafe in case something like this happened. One of the others, a younger pirate with trembling hands, frowned. "Failsafe? What kind of failsafe?" Orvak smirked, revealing rows of jagged teeth. "A planet-killer missile, hidden in the secondary bay. The humans missed it during their sweep." The group fell silent, the weight of his words sinking in. The missile was a relic from an older war, a weapon too devastating to be used lightly. But now, it was their only hope. On board Hyperion's Wrath, Captain Cole stood on the bridge, reviewing the situation with his senior officers. The pirate flagship had been secured, and the convoy was preparing to resume its journey. For the first time since the battle began, the crew of Hyperion's Wrath allowed themselves to breathe. "Status on the prisoners?" Cole asked. Lieutenant Mira Hayes checked her datapad. "All accounted for, sir. Thalric is locked down tight. The rest of his crew is in holding." Cole nodded. "Good. Let's." The tactical console blared to life, cutting him off. An alarm flashed across the display as Ensign Marcus Yao shouted, "Captain! Massive energy signature detected. It's coming from the pirate flagship." Cole's gaze snapped to the screen. The data was unmistakable. A planet-killer missile had been armed and was charging for launch. "How did we miss this?" Mira demanded, her voice sharp with disbelief. "Focus," Cole said, his tone cutting through the tension. "Marcus, can we disable it?" Marcus shook his head, his fingers flying across the controls. "Negative. The missile's internal systems are shielded. They must have hidden it in a hardened compartment." The bridge fell silent, the weight of the threat sinking in. A planet-killer missile wasn't just a weapon, it was a catastrophe waiting to happen. If it detonated, it wouldn't just destroy the convoy. It would create a chain reaction that could ripple across the sector. Thalric's defiance. In the brig, Thalric's smug grin returned as he heard the distant alarms. He leaned back against the wall, his confidence restored. "You humans think you've won," he said to the guard outside his cell. "But you don't understand what real power is. That missile will burn your precious convoy to ash, and I'll laugh as your kind realizes how weak you truly are." The guard didn't respond, his helmeted face betraying no emotion. But Thalrek saw the slight hesitation in his posture and chuckled darkly. "You're afraid. You should be. A race against time." On the bridge, Cole's mind raced. "Options," he demanded. "We can intercept it," Mira suggested. "Our countermeasures can disable most missiles, but a planet killer, it's a gamble." "We don't have a choice," Cole said. "Prepare to intercept, and get me a boarding team back on that flagship. If there's a way to stop it from the source, we need to take it." Mira nodded, already relaying orders. The crew moved with practiced efficiency, but the tension was palpable. Every second brought the missile closer to launch. In the hangar, Sergeant Ethan Graves and his team suited up again. The Marines, who had barely rested from their earlier mission, exchanged grim looks. They knew what was at stake. "We stop that missile," Graves said, his voice steady, "or we don't come back." The boarding pods launched once more, slamming into the pirate flagship with pinpoint precision. The Marines breached the airlocks and pushed forward, cutting through the remnants of the pirate crew. Resistance was minimal. Most of the pirates had surrendered, and those who hadn't were in no condition to fight. The final confrontation. In the missile bay, Orvac and his loyalists worked feverishly to finalize the launch sequence. The missile hummed ominously, its systems glowing with deadly energy. "We're almost there," Orvac said, his fingers dancing over the controls. "Just a little longer." The doors to the bay exploded inward, and Graves' team stormed in, their weapons trained on the pirates. "Step away from the console," Graves barked. Orvac sneered, his hands hovering over the controls. "You're too late, human. The missile is already armed. Even if you kill me, you can't stop it." Graves didn't hesitate. "We'll see about that." A firefight erupted, the Marines moving with precision as they took down the remaining pirates. Orvac, realizing his plan was falling apart, made a desperate dash for the manual override. But before he could reach it, a well-placed shot from Graves dropped him to the ground. "Secure the area," Graves ordered. He turned to the demolitions expert, Gwen, who was already examining the missile's control panel. "It's a mess," she muttered, her eyes scanning the tangled wires and alien components. "But I think I can shut it down." "Do it fast," Graves said. "We don't have much time." Victory, barely. The seconds ticked by as Gwen worked, the hum of the missile growing louder. Finally, with a triumphant cry, she severed the final connection. The missile powered down, its deadly energy dissipating into silence. "Missile neutralized," Graves reported, his voice filled with relief. Returning to base. On board Hyperion's Wrath, the crew erupted into cheers as the threat was eliminated. Cole allowed himself a rare smile. "Good work, everyone. Let's bring our people home." A warning to the galaxy. As the pirate flagship drifted lifelessly, Hyperion's Wrath sent a final message to the sector, broadcasting the image of Thalrek in chains. It was a warning, clear and uncompromising. Humanity was no longer a target for pirates. Anyone who dared challenge them would face the same fate. But for Captain Cole and his crew, the battle wasn't just about survival. It was about proving that humanity could stand against any threat, no matter how dire. And they had succeeded. Humanity's brilliance. The battlefield was silent now, save for the occasional crackle of debris drifting through space. Hyperion's Wrath stood victorious. But Captain Darius Cole knew the fight wasn't over. Not yet. The galaxy needed to see what humanity was capable of, and the crew of the Wrath had a message to deliver. The interrogation of Thalrek. In the brig, Captain Thalrek sat slumped in his cell, his defiance dimmed but not extinguished. His golden eyes glared at the human guard outside, his mind racing with schemes. He didn't see defeat, he saw a pause, a chance to regroup. He had faced enemies before, and survival was his greatest talent. The silence broke as Captain Cole entered the brig, his footsteps deliberate and measured. He stopped in front of Thalric's cell, his sharp gaze piercing through the bars. "Captain Thalric," Cole began, his voice calm yet laced with authority. "You've caused enough chaos for one lifetime. It's over." Thalric chuckled bitterly. "You think this little victory means something. My crew may have failed, but others will come. You can't stop the inevitable." Cole's expression didn't waver. "Perhaps, but you won't live to see it." Thalric's grin faltered, just for a moment. He leaned forward, his claws curling around the edges of his seat. "And what will you do, human? Kill me? Torture me? You're no different from the rest of us, just better at hiding your savagery." Cole stepped closer, his voice dropping to a deadly whisper. "The difference, Thalric, is that we fight for more than greed. You fight to plunder. We fight to protect. And that's why you've already lost." Reclaiming the convoy. With the pirate fleet dismantled and their leader captured, the human trade convoy began to regroup. Damaged ships were towed into position, their crews working tirelessly to restore functionality. Supplies were redistributed, and the survivors exchanged stories of their ordeal. Nathan Carter, the young communications officer from the cargo ship Eclipse, watched Hyperion's wrath from the observation deck. Its sleek form cut an imposing figure against the starry backdrop, a reminder of humanity's growing strength. "Never thought I'd see a warship like that," Nathan murmured to himself. "It's like something out of a legend." Behind him, Captain Linda Reyes joined him, her arms crossed as she stared at the warship. "Legends start somewhere, Carter. What you're seeing is the future of humanity." Nathan turned to her, his eyes wide with awe. "Do you think we'll ever be strong enough to stop running from threats like this?" Linda smiled faintly. "We're not running anymore. Thanks to them." A lesson for the galaxy. Back aboard Hyperion's wrath, the crew prepared their final act, a broadcast to the galaxy. Lieutenant Mira Hayes stood at her station, her fingers dancing over the controls as she established a secure channel. The message would reach every major sector, including the pirate strongholds. "Broadcast ready, Captain," Mira said. Cole nodded, stepping into view of the ship's main camera. His uniform was immaculate, his presence commanding. This wasn't just a statement, it was a warning. "This is Captain Darius Cole of the human warship Hyperion's wrath," he began, his voice resonating with authority. "Today, a fleet of pirates sought to prey upon innocent lives. They believed humanity was weak. They were wrong." The camera panned to show the wreckage of the pirate fleet, the shattered remains of their ships floating lifelessly in space. It lingered on the captured flagship, its battered hull a testament to the battle's outcome. "We do not seek war," Cole continued, "but let this serve as a reminder. Humanity will not be intimidated. We will not be prey. To those who threaten us, know this: there will always be a reckoning." The broadcast ended with the image of Thalric in chains, his once proud form reduced to a symbol of failure. The message was clear, and it spread across the galaxy like wildfire. The pirates' fallout. In distant pirate dens and strongholds, the broadcast sparked waves of anger and fear. Some dismissed it as propaganda, while others saw the truth in the wreckage and the defiance in Cole's eyes. Thalric's fall wasn't just a defeat, it was a shift in power. Pirate captains who once saw humanity as easy prey began to reconsider. The legend of Hyperion's wrath grew with every retelling, its name whispered in fear by those who had once laughed at the thought of human strength. A quiet victory. On board Hyperion's wrath, the crew finally allowed themselves to relax. The adrenaline of battle had faded, replaced by a quiet satisfaction. They had done more than survive. They had won. In the captain's quarters, Cole reviewed the reports from the convoy. Most of the ships were operational again, and the survivors would be escorted to their destination under the warship's protection. It wasn't a perfect victory, but it was enough. A soft knock at the door drew his attention. Mira Hayes stepped inside, her expression serious but warm. "Convoy's ready to move, Captain. They've asked us to lead the way." Cole leaned back in his chair, a rare smile gracing his lips. Let's not keep them waiting. Hope for humanity. As Hyperion's wrath took its place at the head of the convoy, its engines burning brightly, the stars seemed a little less cold. Humanity had faced one of its greatest threats and emerged stronger, more united. The message was clear. Humanity was no longer a species to be underestimated. It was a force to be reckoned with, a force that would continue to grow, adapt, and survive. And for Captain Cole and his crew, this was just the beginning. Justice served. The stars were quiet once more as the convoy moved under the protective shadow of Hyperion's wrath. The battle was over, but its echoes would ripple across the galaxy. Humanity had not only defended its own, but sent a message to every corner of space. They were no longer prey. A reckoning for Thalric. Deep within the brig of Hyperion's wrath, Captain Thalric sat in silence, the weight of his defeat heavy on his shoulders. The once feared pirate lord was now nothing more than a prisoner, his chains a stark reminder of his fall from power. The door to the brig slid open, and Captain Darius Cole stepped inside. His presence filled the room, commanding respect and fear without needing to say a word. Thalric sneered, though the defiance in his eyes had dulled. "Come to gloat, human." Cole remained impassive, folding his arms as he regarded the pirate. "Not at all. I came to deliver your future." Thalric's sneer faltered. "My future? Spare me your speeches. You'll hand me over to your courts, parade me like some trophy. But it won't stop what's coming. Humanity can't change its place in the galaxy." Cole leaned in, his voice dropping to a cold whisper. "You're right. We can't change our place. We're forging a new one." Thalric's golden eyes widened slightly, but Cole turned and walked away before he could respond. The brig door sealed shut with a heavy thud, leaving the pirate captain alone in the cold, sterile cell. The trial of the galaxy. As Hyperion's wrath approached the human-controlled sector, news of the battle and Thalric's capture spread like wildfire. Pirate factions debated how to respond. Some plotted revenge, while others chose to disband entirely, unwilling to risk the wrath of humanity's growing military force. When the ship finally docked at Galactic Station Helios, a sprawling hub of trade and diplomacy, representatives from allied species arrived to witness the transfer of Thalric into human custody. The moment was historic. A powerful pirate lord, infamous across the galaxy, humbled by a species once dismissed as insignificant. Cameras flashed as Thalric, shackled and flanked by human marines, was paraded through the station's main hall. He glared at the crowd, but the fire in his eyes had dimmed. The sight of Hyperion's wrath docked behind him, a symbol of his downfall, was a stark reminder of humanity's newfound strength, humanity's resolve. At a press conference aboard Galactic Station Helios, Captain Cole addressed the galaxy once again. The room was packed with representatives from allied species, journalists, and even a few former pirate sympathizers looking to gauge the tide of power. "This is not about vengeance," Cole began, his voice steady and deliberate. "This is about justice." Captain Thalric and his fleet terrorized countless systems, leaving destruction and despair in their wake. Humanity has shown that we will not stand by while innocent lives are threatened. He paused, his piercing gaze sweeping across the room. "Let this be a message, not just to pirates, but to all who underestimate us. We may be new to the galactic stage, but we have learned, adapted, and grown, and we will continue to do so." The crowd erupted into applause, though some factions exchanged nervous glances. Humanity's rise was no longer a question of if. It was happening, and they would need to decide where they stood. A quiet moment. Back aboard Hyperion's wrath, the crew celebrated their victory in the mess hall. Laughter and cheers filled the air as Marines recounted their daring missions and engineers toasted to their ship's resilience. Even Captain Cole allowed himself a rare moment to join them, raising a glass to his team. "To the crew of Hyperion's wrath," he said, his voice carrying above the chatter. "You've proven that humanity's greatest strength lies not in our technology, but in our unity and resolve. Here's to many more victories, and to the people we protect." The crew roared their approval, the sound reverberating through the ship. The galaxy takes notice. Beyond the station, the broadcast of Thalric's capture and Cole's speech continued to ripple across the galaxy. On distant pirate outposts, fear spread like wildfire. Captains began to question the wisdom of targeting human ships, while smugglers whispered tales of Hyperion's wrath, a ghostly warship that struck with precision and vanished into the void. For humanity's allies, the victory was a turning point. Species that had once hesitated to ally with humans now saw their potential as a force for stability and justice. Trade agreements were forged, military pacts strengthened, and humanity's place in the galactic community grew more secure. A new beginning. As the convoy continued its journey, Hyperion's wrath led the way, a silent guardian among the stars. Captain Cole stood on the bridge, his hands clasped behind his back as he gazed out at the endless expanse of space. Lieutenant Mira Hayes approached, her expression thoughtful. "Do you think they'll come for us again, sir?" "The pirates." Cole didn't look away from the viewport. "They'll try. But next time, they'll know what to expect." Mira nodded, a small smile playing at her lips. "And what if someone stronger comes?" Cole turned to her, his expression calm but resolute. "Then we'll rise to meet them. Humanity isn't just fighting for survival anymore, Lieutenant. We're building a legacy." As Hyperion's wrath moved forward, its engines burning brightly, the stars seemed to stretch endlessly before them. Humanity had proven its worth, not just as a species capable of survival, but as one destined to thrive. And as the galaxy watched, one thing became clear. This was only the beginning.